All right, there we go. Ladies and gentlemen, Rick Dewalt from Echoes Danceteria. I am so excited to have you here tonight. I know you and I have talked several times about doing
Absolutely.
this, and I think it was. I don't know if we both thought of it more of as a joke for a little while, but um, I want you to know several months ago when I first started this, you were actually on my spreadsheet of people that I wanted to talk
Wow.
to from the very beginning.
Wow.
And, you know, my show to me, I try to be a historical document.
Yep.
And hopefully it's entertaining, but more importantly, I hope everything that I do is historically correct and I'm putting pieces in place, even if it's not just in our scene here locally,
Yep.
but globally, because obviously without what's going on in the rest of the world, we have nothing here.
Yep.
So I wanted to figure out because I think, from what I understand, you were the first alternative music anything in the county.
Definitely Palm Beach County. There was a club when long before Echoes in Singer Island. Used to be a radio station called Z97, and they only broadcast music. It was jazz and I, I want to say like jazz and like 20s music and just big band stuff. And then from 8 to midnight, they would broadcast alternative music. So it was called,
What year is this?
oh, 79, 80, 81, 82.
Okay.
So early on.
Right. So this is like krautrock. This is
This is the Clash. It's
Right.
the Stranglers and
Awesome.
the first Psychedelic Furs album and just things that just that I knew I was home.
Right.
And there was a club that they used to, I guess like rent out or it was a crappy little club in Singer Island, right just west of the beach called the Edge.
Okay.
And I think it was just one of those get drunk bars during the day. And every now and then they would let them rent out, and their DJs would come, and they started like a local scene up there. And they would have bands, and they would bring in just crates of records, and just play whatever you wanted to hear. So we were listening to early Stranglers and just anything new that came out. They would play it.
Which is still Strangler is still on heavy rotation in my collection.
Mine too.
Yeah.
Absolutely, mine too. One of my only regrets is not seeing the Stranglers and the Cramps. That'd be the two bands I would definitely want to see.
I, I, I was talking to my daughter the other night about the Cramps because the Cramps were in Goo Goo Muck is there's the song Goo Goo Muck is in the new Wednesday film, like the new Adam
Oh, I
Sandler
haven't seen
film.
it yet. I want to see
So
it.
yeah,
Yeah.
there's a scene with her dancing, and I freak out. My daughter looks at me like I'm an idiot.
Yeah.
I was like, I was like, we are going to listen to this. You are going to be
you
educated.
you got to know who Lux is, the best front man ever.
And not only that, Poison Ivy's
Oh,
just
she's amazing.
and then on top of that, you would think with the format that I have, I love watching interviews. Every interview that I've seen with Lux and Poison Ivy, I mean, they are just the sweetest couple, and they're so cool.
The dichotomy is ridiculous.
Yeah.
You see him on stage and you're thinking, oh my God, this guy is, he's from another world. And then you get him on and he's like talking about, how they hitchhiked, and they lived in Ohio and what just a lovely life they live. And you're going, this is Lux Interior.
Right. And, like, have you ever seen the interviews with them, like inside their house? And
Yeah.
they've got like all their knickknack collections and their
Absolutely.
record collections, and like, I mean, more 45s than I've ever seen in my life.
The Henry Rollins interview where he talks about meeting Lux for the first time, he and Ian MacKaye
Yeah.
pulled his pants off of him because he asked him to at one of the shows in, I think, D.C. And so they took care of his pants. They folded them and put them nicely. And, and then they left the stage after the end of the show. And they're like, we're standing there holding Lux Interior's pants. So we're like, so we, finagle away backstage and knock on the door. And someone answers the door. And they're like, we have Mr. Interior's pants here. And he goes, the guy just turns around and goes, Lux, the cleaners are here. And he hands him the pants, and then they go in and meet Lux Interior. And he said, that was it. That was the pinnacle of his life.
Absolutely. I mean, it's, he's was such an over the top character.
Absolutely.
So how do we get from this radio station and the bar to, and I understand, like, you were a teacher and you opened this Echoes on
Yep.
On the weekends.
Yep.
How did that idea come about? Who
My first year teaching was 1984. So I had, back then, really cool kids.
Right.
Like, that I identified with. And by the way, I was only 23 years old.
Right.
So I'm like, oh my gosh, these kids are 17, 18 years old. They're listening to good music, and they were listening to good music. That's where I met Glenn Nelson.
Right.
Glenn Nelson was never a student of mine, yet his senior year was my first year teaching, and it was, I don't even know how we met, but it was just instant connection. So him, Eric Montanino, who
I know
worked
Eric
at our club and everything.
Mm-hmm.
Actually, he and Glenn rented a room at our house. We had a little apartment on the side of our house, and so they lived in there, and Beth and I lived in the house, and crazy stories there. But lots of DJing, lots of just stupid ideas, that sounded great at the time. So I that year, this scholarship came up, and I applied for it, and I said it was to go to Oxford for the summer, and it was an English-speaking union scholarship to go study at Oxford for summer school. So I was like, well, yeah, I want to do that, because I was a math major, but I was an English lit minor.
Right.
So I said, So here goes this little punk guy, with his little spiky hair, and everyone would be like, oh, you have spiked hair, you must be one of those alternative guys, and coming out of college, you don't know any better, right. So you're like, oh yeah, okay, cool. So I go over and I get invited to this mansion in Palm Beach. They stick me in a room and they rotate these people coming around to talk to you, and it's Sir so and so and Lord so and so and Lady so and so. And we're talking about literature in England and all that. And I get a call the next morning, Sunday morning, and it's like, hi, this is Mrs. Gavin Letts. I just want to let you know that you've earned the scholarship to attend summer school at Oxford University this summer. And all I could say was, you're kidding, right? I mean, is this real? And she was like, yeah, we were so impressed that you're a math major, because I was a math and engineering major. I taught math.
Right.
And they're like, we couldn't figure out why you knew so much about literature as a math major. And so we want to reward that, and we're going to send you to England. So I went to Oxford that year. So Beth and I just packed our stuff, and we rented a flat, and I was attending classes in Oxford, studying 19th century British novelists. But that was Monday through Thursday. So the minute Thursday would end, we're gone. We're just gone. We're in London. We're anywhere there's music. France, just anywhere we could go where there was a band to see. Right. So we went to the WOMAD Festival, 1985, and if you look up the poster, it's like one of those dream posters that like the festivals that they're
Right.
putting together now on Facebook. Like your dream festival.
Right.
Well, it's the Fall, it's New Order, it's General Public, the Pogues, Thomas Matfumo. General Public, Toots and the Maytals. So it's these incredible bands, ACR, Certain
God,
Ratio.
yeah.
So we're like, okay, we want to go to that, and they're like, we're calling around, we're trying to find. It's pre-internet days, of course. So we're like, okay, how do we? Is there a hotel there? And they're like, no, this is a seaside village. So we're like, okay, what do you do? And they're like, well, you camp. We're like, all right, what do we do? We're like, all right, we go buy a tent and 2 sleeping bags, load up a backpack, and we're gone. So Thursday afternoon, we hop on the bus, and they drop us off in this field, and there's like 10 of us. We all know we're together. Go backpacking, miles, show up. There's a gate. There's a guy there selling brownies, hash brownies, that we saw Sunday when we left. I don't know if he sold any or whatever. And we walk into this festival, and it was 3 full days of just pure music. Also, there was a local band that was playing around there, and they played under this tent, and they were like, oh, we're the House Martins.
Oh my God.
They're not even on the poster or anything like that. They were a fill-in band. They had just started. They had one 7-inch single out. So I bought that single for sure. After we saw them, we were like, oh my God, who are these guys? They blew us away. Came back with the 7-inch single, and I couldn't. I gave it to everyone. I was like, I'm making them tapes, back in
Right.
mixtape days. You got to hear this band,
The
these
original
two.
bootlegging.
The original bootlegging, absolutely. And everyone's like, oh my God, can we get anything? Well,
Can't.
they can't. It didn't come out till like the next year in America. So I'm gonna take credit for like spreading the House Martin, word here in America. And of course, Glenn was one of my students, at Lake Worth High.
Right.
But he wasn't one of my students. He was just a student there. And he and I started DJing. And I brought all I brought back from England was I sent crates
Was
of
this
books.
just DJing at the house? You guys doing parties? Or?
Messing around doing stupid stuff. Well, his
Right.
his dad was the house artist for Burt Reynolds Dinner Theater.
Oh wow.
So they asked us, they're like, hey, we need a DJ for this week. You want to come DJ? And we're like, yeah, we do. So it was the after party, and it was the actors. What was Judd Nelson? So yeah, Judd Nelson. We're like, we're playing all the standards. We're just up there. We're dressed, kind of nice. As nice as you can be in the mid in the mid '80s. I've got like some funky bow tie on. Glenn might have had tails on or something like that. We were thrifting all the time back then even. Mm-hmm. And Judd Nelson comes up and he's like, you don't have anything a little, more alternative, do you? And we're like, we just so happened to have that. So we ended up doing the Nutty Chain, Madness Nutty Chain with Judd Nelson, and hanging out with him, all night, and playing whatever he asked for.
That's cool.
Yeah, as much as we had. So that's what it was. We started DJing
And
at
this
Burt
is
Reynolds Dinner there.
85,
80,
86?
yeah, probably 85.
So
84, 85.
So when did you open Echoes?
We opened Echoes in 86. When I got back from England, I was like, okay, I want to open up a club. But everyone, there were no alternative clubs, basically, Miami, Fort Lauderdale, Miami,
Right.
Fire and Ice in Miami, the Kitchen Club later on.
It was really only about a year before Rodney opened Respectables.
Rodney came to our club
Right.
and said, I'm going to open up a club in West Palm, and I'm going to open it up on Clematis Street. And I was like, ooh, good luck. Yeah, I was like, I was like, good, that'll be a nice dirty punk club.
Yeah,
I was
nice
like,
dirty punk
I was
club.
like,
You can buy crack cocaine right outside.
absolutely. I mean, and much better than going all the way to Churchill's.
Yeah.
His bathrooms are cleaner too, so that that helped out. But
yeah, not so much.
yeah. Oh, have you ever?
Not
you ever go?
88 when I first started coming here. It was.
Yeah, you ever go to Churchill's? Yeah, that's a legiondary bathroom there.
Yeah.
Like I'd walk in at
That's
Churchill's.
That's a train spotting bathroom.
That's a train spotting bathroom. I'd walk in there and they're like, "Oh, we're having chili today at Churchill's." I was like, "You cook?" I was like, "That can't be good for anyone here." I was like, "I need a bottle and I'll open it." I mean, even Churchill's. But I love Churchill's. Who else has like the greatest bands and then a support beam in the middle of the stage? That you got to look around to see the
Right.
bands. I mean, I've been there, a million times and. That's still the only thing that stands out. The bands are great, but there's a support beam, that you got to look around to see the band.
So, now I guess the part that I've been dying for is Ministry and the Revolting Cocks at Lake Worth High School.
Crazy.
So I'm guessing this was during the Twitch era. It had to be after With Sympathy, right? So it had to be Twitch.
Yeah. I think so.
So
Yeah.
first of all, I mean, how did you book that? And then how did you book it at Lake Worth High School?
Well, the one thing about me is I don't have much of a brain outside of like math.
Right.
So like when people say, "Oh no, that can't be done," I'm like, well, "Have you asked?" Unless we ask, we won't never know. So I got on every booking agent's list, and they would call me, and I would call them, and I would say, "Who do you have?" And they would say, "Oh, we have the Cramps." And I was like, "Oh my God, if I could do the Cramps." Well, back then the Cramps were $10,000.
Right.
So there's no way I can do the Cramps at Echoes.
Right.
I can't do that. So I'm like, okay, well, who do we do now? And so we did New Model Army. We'd done them, and I think we did them after Skinny Puppy and after that. But they said we have Ministry.
Well, thanks for jumping ahead and ruining my list.
Sorry about that. Yeah, but they're like, we have Ministry, and Ministry's a little bit more expensive. And I was like, all right, I got to do it. I'm like, I don't care if we break even, lose a little bit. That's gonna solidify it.
Right.
Well, the city of Lake Worth, in their infinite wisdom, Rodney will find out about that soon enough. We had 5,400 square feet in our club. They originally gave us a capacity of 100. We had to fight and fight and fight and fight. We got it up to like 300. Well, we knew 300 wasn't even gonna cut it for Ministry, so we're like, okay, we've got to break even here at least. So the only bigger thing was bigger venue was the Leaky Teepee, West Palm Beach Auditorium. Well, way too big for that.
I saw Ronnie James Dio there.
Right.
Yeah.
I saw Thompson. I saw U2 open for Jay Giles there.
Erasure played there too.
Erasure, yeah. Thompson Twins. Who else? Wendy O. Williams. The Plasmatics played there. I mean, there were some great shows there. But yeah, U2 opening for Jay Giles was a ridiculous one. Everyone went for U2 and then left for Jay Giles.
Which was probably the better show.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah. Everyone was outside. I want to say all of our people were outside.
Right.
Everyone that listened to Z97 back then.
Yeah.
So then I worked at Lake Worth High, and I knew that was the second largest auditorium in Palm Beach County. It held 1,000 people. So I said, well, we're going to be closer to 1,000 than we are 300.
Right.
So, but I knew that I couldn't do it. So we put Ramon Caressa. Do you know him?
I don't.
Okay, Ramon Caressa was one of my students also in 85 and 84. And he's this tall Finnish kid, Swedish, blonde hair, super tennis player.
The Finnish kid in Lake Worth? No.
Oh, yeah, I know, right? Yeah. Weird, huh? Yeah, it's not like the sister city of Helsinki or anything. So, he's this goth-looking guy dressed all in black. He's this cool-looking guy. Well, he worked for us also. He loved the music, and I knew that from, he was one of my students. And I said, Ramon, I need a favor. I need you to front a production company. And he's like, no problem. I go, we're doing Ministry, but I can't do it because I work there. So I need you to rent the place. We'll give you all the money. We'll front everything, but I just can't do it. I need you to go to the meetings and stuff. So, Ramon dresses up really nice. Like I said, he's like 6'4". He's this good-looking guy. He goes in and rents everything out for us. And all he says is it's Ministry. Well, they think it's a Christian rock show. 100%. So we book the venue, and I'm like, this is really going to happen.
No mention of Revco or?
Not a word. No, we don't mention anything. All we say is Ministry. So the reason we did is because I knew
Fortunately, there was no internet back then.
Thank God. Thank God for many, many reasons that there was no internet back then. But there had to be this specific connector that you had to have. So if you didn't have that connector in your club, you had to rent a sound company that came in with this, with this big connector, to connect all the lights and the sound and all that kind of stuff. I don't even remember what it was back then. And they had it. It's a big auditorium, so they had it. So I'm like, okay, this is going to work out beautifully. So as Lake Worth did a couple times to me, like when Dungeons and Dragons, my first year there, they were like, these kids are playing Dungeons and Dragons. Is this a satanic game? And I was like, I teach math. I know that. I'm a geek, but I don't play Dungeons and Dragons. I was like, but I think it's okay. I said, all my students do, and they don't seem to be like worshiping the devil or anything like that, or outwardly, or if they do, they're not, sacrificing babies or anything. I go, I think it's just a game. But they came to me and they said, what do you know about this show? And I go, absolutely nothing. And they're like, well, we think it's a Christian rock show. And I go, oh, sounds cool. And I didn't say a word, and I just laid low, and I didn't say a word. And after the day ended that day, went over and set everyone up, got them in, waited till everyone left campus, brought in Al Jorgensen, brought in the crew. He wasn't there, of course. At that time he's not setting up for himself even then. But we brought in the crew, and they set everything up, and the show went off without a hitch, no damage. Everyone was very respectful. We sold probably not 1,000 tickets, but probably 800, 700. And everyone said, they were like, I can't believe you pulled that off. And I was like, whew, that could have been a job right there, And they came to me after that, and they're like, yeah, they said, the night school person said they saw a bunch of, like, strange people around. I go, oh, sounds weird. I was like, they're like, you don't know anything about it? And I was like, absolutely nothing. And Ramon pulled it off.
And did Lake Worth, did the school ever figure it out, or that you had anything to do with it? They have to.
Never.
No?
Never. Was never brought up after that, except by the kids that attended. And they're like, I can't believe you did ministry here. And I was like, shh, don't say another word.
That's
and it was cool. Yeah, it got pulled off without a hitch.
Yeah, it's funny. I absolutely, being a part of the scene just after that, because I moved here like '87.
Yeah.
And I got brought into the scene shortly after that. I was into Metallica, Megadeth, and Van Halen, and I met a skinhead kid in my PE class, and he handed me a mixtape, and
that's how many people were converted on mixtapes.
Yeah, so and on that mixtape, Circle Jerks, DRI,
Right.
7 Seconds,
Absolutely.
and so it was like shortly after that I was coming here to hardcore shows because his mom actually booked all the hardcore shows.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, so
I'll be dang.
Did you know Ray Titus? He was he was the second drummer in the Believers.
No.
Which was Chad Palmer and Dane and Tony, and they were Twin Lakes kids.
Yeah.
But hey, yeah. So
Chad, I think I know.
And Chad from Believers is the other half of Ultrastar,
Right.
with Glenn.
With Glenn, yep.
Look
at that. How many years later? Glenn's 55, 56. And he's still cranking out great music.
He is, and I'll tell you one of my all-time favorite moments in a DJ booth, because I used to DJ at Foundation.
Yeah, I do.
And Glenn DJ'd there for a little while, and I don't know why he and I were there opening time on the same night, because maybe it was maybe it was his first night DJing there, and I was showing him the system. I don't know, but all I know is he and I were there opening together, and he brought in Big Audio Dynamite's The Globe.
Yep.
And it's, to this day, it's one of my favorite experiences. It was he and I and one of the bartenders in the club, just sitting there the day that album came out. We listened to it, start to finish. And part of that is because it's Glenn, and I looked up to Glenn to begin with.
Yep.
And to this day, I love Glenn.
Oh.
He's
That's my favorite person on the face of the planet. He's Glenn's amazing. There's nothing he can't do.
Right.
Like, when we first met, he's like, okay, we got to start DJing. I'm like, all right. So we start DJing. And I said, when I got back from England, I'm like, look, I had a couple friends, and we're all going, listening to good music. And actually it was a person, Sue Taylor and Dave Taylor had just gotten married. They trusted me to perform their wedding, which is absolutely crazy. Why would you let some 24, 25-year-old kid perform your wedding? Absolutely nuts. But I did that. And then she says, well, you keep talking about this club. What's it going to take? She goes, I hate my job. And I said, I don't know. Let's find out. So we start doing the research and everything, and we go start looking at properties and stuff. Like I said, I may not be the smartest guy in the world, to think about, like, what, let's open up a club, because how profitable could that be, and how much work could that be? Well, not very profitable, tons and tons of work. So we found this space that had been occupied, it was the upstairs of the True Value. Right. I had worked at that True Value delivering prescriptions when I was when I was at community college before I transferred to UCF. So I knew the owner, and I said, his name was Ken Jerkins. I said, so, Ken, how you going to cut a guy a deal? And he's like, what do you want to do? And I said, we want a club. We're only going to be open like Fridays, Saturdays. Oh, we're going to be a night after 9 o'clock, after you close. Or you closed at like 6 o'clock.
Right.
I said, we're going to, long after you're closed. He goes, that sounds really cool. He goes, I'll rent it to you for like $900 a month. So we were getting that whole space for $900 a month. Now, if you saw inside of that place, it had been the Italian Social Club, I think the Italian American Club.
Right.
So they did bingo in there, they did parties and all that. So it had that, that vibe going on. So we're like, okay, we need to black this place out for one thing. We need to put in a checkerboard. I
remember the windows being blacked over.
You know what that was? That was car carpeting, like vehicle carpeting, that we bought in big rolls, and we cut it and made it, put snaps on it, because it had to be fireproof, fire resistant.
Right.
So we made that, and we put the snaps in and everything, boom, 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 put the snaps all up. And that was our third partner was Bob Goebel, who was also a math teacher at Lake Worth High. And he was just like, yeah, you guys need an investor? He goes, I'm in. So it was 3 teachers, like 3 families of teachers.
Do you remember what your actual outlay was to get the whole thing up and going? The sound system,
Probably maybe 60, 70,000.
Really?
Yeah.
That was a lot of money.
It was a lot of money back then.
Yeah.
I put a second mortgage on my house. Bob Goebel kicked in, I think it was 10,000. Sue and Dave kicked in. I think it was about 20,000. So, like I said, I put a second mortgage on my house and had some cash, and we were all in.
Right.
We were 100% in, and like people are coming out and giving us. I mean, we're getting crazy estimates on sound systems, and we found this guy, and he goes, "What are you trying to do?" And I said, "I want the best sound I can have." And he's like, "You want big bass cabinets and everything?" I'm like, "Yeah, I want big bass. We got to have big bass cabinets." He goes, "Have you ever heard of Klipsch speakers?" And I was like, "Yeah, I've heard of Klipsch speakers." He goes, "I think I can do this in 8 speakers." He said, "I think I can do it in 4 bass cabinets, and have 4 combo mid and high end." And I was like, "You think so?" And he goes, "Oh, I know so." Because these guys are talking about putting in delays in the club, because if you're on this end of the club, we want speakers in. I'm like, you just want speakers. It wasn't that big of a club.
Do you remember what clips you were running? Or
no, I don't even remember. But they and here was the drawback. They were like white oak cabinets.
Right. Not for long.
Not for long.
Yeah.
No, can of spray paint.
These were black real quick.
They were black real quick.
Klipsch had a commercial, and the commercial side where they actually started painting them black to begin with, and they put the handles on.
Right.
I collected Klipsch for a while.
Yeah.
I just sold almost my last pair of Klipsch. I still have one set of Klipsch left.
Yeah.
But I mean, super efficient. They don't take a lot of power to.
Nope.
So I mean, I think back then your choices were really Klipsch or Electro Voice. EV.
Yeah. Those were another choice, and I can't remember the other one. And those were the big, booming bass cabinets that were, like 4x4 or something like that. Which, I mean, they were great, but the Klipsch did the job. I mean, no one ever complained about the sound.
No.
We were only running about maybe half volume, 3/4 volume. The best thing that Glenn and I used to do, you were talking about like getting albums and you listen to them and all that. Well, we had a connection in England for sure. And so we were buying everything out of England before it got here.
Right.
So we would call and say, okay, what's new? And they would say, okay, we have this, and this. And we're like, boom, send it. So we're getting stuff. But, it takes, to get from England to us 3, 4, 5 weeks.
Right.
But it's still ahead of when it got here. And Open Books and Records in Miami. I don't know if you ever went there.
No.
Run by a wonderful lady named Leslie. Yeah. And Leslie is like,
I was getting down to like Play It Again and
yeah. So if you went all the way to Miami, right off 826, right by the Coppertone Tan sign, right just past that was Leslie, and Leslie had done all the production of and one of the reasons we opened a club was I always wanted to have Charlie Pickett and the Eggs. I don't know if you've ever heard of him.
Yeah.
He's just an old punk guy from cowpunk guy from Dania, and I always wanted to book him at a club. And he since, I've since talked to him many times, but he was like my rock and roll god at that point. Go see him and Johnny Sultan on guitar, and just a guy named Styx Galway on on drums, and they were just amazing. They were the band that never made it,
Right.
that never made it big. They were friends with REM. Peter Buck did all their stuff, all their sound for them, and all their production for them, and all that, and still couldn't make it. It just tells you, what a tough business it is to to finally catch on. But so we just just go down to Open Books and Records, and Leslie would say, "Oh, I got your stack here. I pulled some good stuff for you. I know you're gonna like this." And she was right, I'd say 99% of the time.
That's awesome.
And they had couches and everything, so she'd be like, "Just have a seat." So when you went down to Open Books and Records, you're down there for a day.
Right.
And walk out back then with...
That's what I loved about shopping for records back then.
Oh, it was an event.
Yeah.
It was an event. We'd go to Miami, and Glenn and I and my wife Beth. My wife Beth is amazing. Because she just agrees with all the craziness. She's like, open up a club, absolutely. Middle of the night, midnight. She's like, let's go to Fire and Ice. They didn't really get going till 1:00 anyway.
Right.
So we'd go down there from like 1:00 till 5, and there were good DJs down there. They ended up like going over to the Kitchen Club and everything when they opened and all that. A guy named Montcher.
Right, of course.
Yeah.
I think Montcher was working on a book a couple.
He was,
years
and
ago.
I talked to him about it, and I'm like, tell me you're going to have all that Miami stuff in there, and he's like, oh yeah, all of us down here and everything, because Fire
I'm
Nice.
sure the book came out, but
I don't know.
I lost track.
Yeah, I don't know either. But he was an amazing DJ. So you'd go down there on a Saturday night, and you'd walk in at midnight, and there'd be 5 people on the dance floor. And then an hour later, there's 500 people on the dance floor. And everyone is in the fashion district, so everyone is, just cool as all get out. They're from Miami and New York and Paris and everything. So, you're like, okay, what are you listening to? What are you listening to? So, we'd steal everything from that. And that's before I owned the club.
Right.
So I had the dance music side. I never like fell into one group of music. I love the dance music. That was always the greatest. But then we got into the industrial, and then we got into I was into ska like immediately. The first time I heard that in like 1970 something.
Right.
So that was an easy one. Punk was real easy to get into.
Right. So you're talking first wave ska.
Second wave ska. Yeah.
Okay, yeah. So second wave ska would have been 79. I
79,
think,
76. I
and
missed it. Yeah.
Came out.
Yeah. Saul Madness.
And
Yeah.
I think both their debut albums came out. I think in 79.
Probably 78, 79. Yeah.
But
Jerry Dammers. Another. But look at your heroes. Look at the guys. Oh, someone can't do it. Oh no, I can do it. Let me try it. What do you have to lose?
Yep.
The
So second wave ska got me into first wave ska.
Absolutely.
So,
yeah. That's and if you talk to anyone our age, I'm a little older than you, but you started off with the specials, and then you end up with
Prince Buster,
Prince
and Laurel
Buster.
Atkins
Oh my God. Yeah.
Yeah, then you get into the Trojan Record stuff.
Yeah, my first email address, and it's still my email address. People go, "Why do you have an AOL account?" And I go, "Because I have Ska Rick as my name." I'm like, I'm like, I'm not giving that up ever. Like, AOL's gonna have to shut down before that. And they're like, "Really? That's right?" I'm like, "That's kind of why." Yeah, yeah. So if anyone wants to email me, it's skarick@aol.com. Send me your music.
Yeah, this could be dangerous. Knowing
I can always shut it down.
Yeah, knowing the idiot friends that I have that listen to this show.
Have you met my idiot friends? Yeah,
I think they may be the same.
They're the same
friends.
people.
Talking about Eric Montanino not too long ago. Last time I saw him, he had like a house full of records. I mean, because he worked at Peaches after and so it's like
during.
I think it was like every import that came in, it was like, this isn't hitting the shelf.
Yeah. Well, it cracks me up. Like, people say, "Oh, I have like 1,000 records," and I'm like, "Oh, that's cute."
Right.
And I was like, they're like, "How many did you have?" And I said, "Oh, over 10,000." And they're like, "No, you didn't." I was like, "People gave us records." Like, we belong to DJ pools. So you'd go down the DJ pool, and we belonged to 2 or 3 of them down in Fort Lauderdale, in Miami. And we'd go down there, and you'd walk out with a stack of, 50 new records. Out of that 50, 49 were trash.
Right.
But there was that one golden one in there, that you'd find.
When I quit DJing at Foundation, I think I got rid of half my collection, which, I mean, I had, I don't know, somewhere around 1,000 records then. Yeah. I got, it's like I got rid of the stuff that I didn't like, that I had to have, that I had to play. And like, some of it, looking at the value of some of that stuff now, it's because I've got everything in Discogs. So it's like,
I get it.
That somebody gave me, what was it, that, Nirvana, Nevermind, that thing's like $1,500 now.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
probably should have kept that.
Yeah.
It's like,
Well,
I didn't like that whole grunge scene. So it's like, I didn't, the only way to get me to play it is to actually hand it to me and give it to me.
Well, I mean, think about it. We had DJ cuts of, Shriekback, Nemesis, and stuff like that. I mean, come on. We had, before it got to America, we have it on a 12-inch. I don't know if that's worth anything now. Probably not. I mean, it's like,
you still have a lot of that, or?
I don't. When we sold the club,
pennies on the dollar.
Ooh, yeah. They were like, oh, are we going to need all these? I'm like, I don't know what else you're going to play. But I'm the guy that, and I get it. Other people are like, oh, I miss albums and all that. And I'm like, oh, that's cool. I said, but I can't listen to a 12-inch or an album in my car. So, right. I'm good with digital. I go, the digital I have like on my phone, that's what they make records from now. I mean, that's the digital. They're going to make you a record from that. I love digital.
Right. And, listen, I mean, 10 years ago, digital was not that great.
Yeah.
The new, I should say 20 years ago, digital was not that great.
Right.
10 years ago was pretty good. And now, I mean, it's, it's there. It's as good as vinyl.
Yeah.
And even like Mophie, Mobile Fidelity, who is known for using the original masters, just got in trouble for actually using, DSD, using digital to make their records after they've been saying original master recordings for so long.
Yeah.
Now it's, not so much. So if the best records out there, the problem is that people aren't doing a good job cutting the records. So
right. Yeah.
most vinyl sounds terrible now.
Right. Yeah.
I still buy it.
I do. You know what? I buy everything from bands.
Exactly.
I just, you were at the Pie Tasters. Yep. Where we stood together at the Pie Tasters. Yep. I bought, a patch. I bought 2 shirts. I bought, these guys are. I mean, how hard are these guys working?
Exactly.
And if I can buy, I'm old now. I don't have, I have disposable income now a little bit. I'm still a teacher, so it's not an incredible amount of disposable income. But I mean, if I can buy, $20, $30, $50 worth of stuff,
it goes directly to the band.
I have a lot of CD. I have a cassette tape from one of the young. There's a guy Billy Doom is Dead. He's the keyboard player for Spread the Dub. Spread the Dub's my favorite. Yeah, they're my favorite local band for sure. Great guys. Know more about ska than I'll ever know.
I'm supposed to go fishing with one of the guys from Spread the Dub studio.
Who, Hunter?
Yeah, he lives right around the corner from me.
In North Palm Beach?
Yeah.
Oh, it's Hunter then.
Yeah. So.
Yeah, I mean, they're all great, but they know more about ska. The first time I met them was in like 2008 or 9. They're playing at the Lake Worth Reggae Festival.
Really?
And Beth and I are walking around, and all of a sudden I hear Gangsters by the Specials. And I think, well, that's weird. Look at these young guys. They're like 20 years old.
Right.
And they're playing Gangster. I was like, oh, that's cool. And I was like, all right, listen to it, go to Walk Away. And they start with the Clash Bank Robber. And I'm thinking, all right, whose daddy taught them? Like gave them a couple songs to, play. And then, since then they've been, buds of ours,
they're awesome.
Yeah,
great guys.
They've turned me on to so much. And
I love the fact that they open up with Blues Brothers.
Absolutely.
To me, that's just
absolutely. But they pay tribute to Red Elvises too.
Yeah.
There's little Red Elvis little bit in their stuff, and
cool kids.
Yeah. And then they have a side project, the Moonshiners.
right.
That's outlaw country, which I know, growing up in South Florida. Sorry, there's that redneck gene in there. I eat grits and I listen to outlaw country till, and they know all that, which is crazy.
Now this is something that I'm finding interesting. Let's talk about new music now.
Yeah.
I'm finding so many, and band playing Saturday, Sloth Rust. They're playing here, out of Boston. Really cool band, but I'm finding so many bands now that actually, punk-ish. When I say punkish, like Pixies punk. Not exploited punk.
Yeah.
But some of their songs have like a country twang to them now, and it's cool.
Absolutely.
And they're bringing in surf guitar too.
Yeah.
And
but you know what? I go back and I listen to stuff that I listened to in like late '70s, early '80s, and I'm like, wow, that was pretty pretty countryish.
Yeah,
Wall of Voodoo. Cramps.
Yeah.
The Cramps. I mean, it could be argued that they're the greatest rockabilly band ever.
I don't think it's an argument. It's, you know what? If you want to argue it, I will fight you. They are the greatest.
I know they want to be Garageabilly or Psychobilly or whatever. Reverend Horton Heat.
Fantastic.
There's no way I could see him enough times.
Yeah, I saw him here.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I did too. Oh God.
Yeah.
I was like, I cannot believe that he's going to play here with Jello Biafra coming out and doing what he do, like 6-7 songs.
Right.
Yeah, I mean, seeing Jello Biafra,
I didn't see him here with Jello Biafra. I saw him the tour earlier, which is
outside.
No, here.
Inside? Okay.
Inside, I'm gonna guess it was 95, 6, no, sorry. Yeah, 95, 6, 7. Probably around the time I got married.
You know what? I have a blackout period during that time. I was raising a couple kids.
Yeah.
Who are the best things that ever, like people go, what's the best thing? Well, of course, 2 kids. I mean, they're amazing. But all they say about us is like Beth and I is, you guys are ridiculous. They're like, you're ridiculous, and they're like, what are you doing tonight? And I'm like, oh, I'm going out to go see a band. They're like, it's a school night. I'm like, well, we're big people now. We've been in this business a long time. We know what we can handle. If I go to bed at 2:00 and I get up at 5:00, I won't go out the next night. I promise, kids. They think that we were the president and vice president of the chess club in high school. And I'm like, we've been out to see more bands than you're ever going to see.
My daughter just turned 13. My son will be 17 soon, and it's funny. They'll have sleepovers and something and during a sleepover they'll see me leaving at like 11:00.
Exactly.
You're like, where are you going? I'm like, going to the club.
Yeah, going to work. I gotta go check
I'll come home and they'll be sitting there doing whatever it is they're doing at 2, 3 in the morning when I get home, and they're still up. Oh
yeah, it's my Barry Manilow, Barbara Streisand fight in my life. I count those 2 people as my arch enemies because I'm like, why are people my age still listening to crap music? I'm like, they put out stuff since then. I was like, I don't care what you listen to, but go out and see some new stuff. Go see some you like lounge singing? You like Barry Manilow? Let's go see some lounge singers. Let's go see something. And they're like, oh, I don't really like live music.
You remember local hardcore band Quit?
No.
They're down south, but the guitarist is in like a jazz band now. I think it's called Stardust Lounge. It's really cool stuff.
Yeah.
But it's funny. I mean, I think, and here's where I'll argue with you that people are listening to terrible music.
I just met my friends. That's why I'm interviewing for friends. If anyone would like to be my friend, because I've got to cut my friends loose because they're just listening to terrible music. I can't get them out to listen to good music. Even our Echoes crowd, we put it out on. We have that Echoes Facebook page, and we're like, oh, we're going to see everyone there. When PIL played in Fort Lauderdale at Culture Room, I'm like, oh my God, it's going to be an Echoes reunion. There's going to be everyone down there. We didn't know one single person. And it was a great show. Johnny Lydon went on at 9:00, and he 9:30. He was off by 11:00. I was like, very respectful. Thank you very much. I can go to work tomorrow.
It's awesome. That's another thing I love about some of the shows here now are starting so much earlier.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, I think doors for Sloth Rust on Saturday open at 8, but
Yeah.
show the week before doors were at like 7.
Yeah.
Were you here for? I think you were here for Jetpacks,
No, no.
or were you here for Romans?
Pie Tasters was the
Oh,
last one we
just
were here
Pie
for.
Tasters.
Yeah.
Well, Pie Tasters was early. That
Oh,
was
they were done by 11:30,
Yeah.
which is really good for me, because then Beth, when the DJs bring on a new order,
Right.
then I lose her. I lose her to the dance floor. And people are like, I thought you were going to leave 2 hours ago. And I was like, well, yeah, they just keep playing great music. Jeff Rye would do that. And,
Yeah.
Paul Klov does that for her. And
Jeff Rye's another one of my
Yeah.
absolute favorite people in the world.
Yeah.
I love Jeff so much.
Yeah, he's awesome.
And I still have a record he gave me. He gave me, because my favorite Ministry song is Isle of Man. So he
Oh, wow.
gave me the 12-inch of Over the Shoulder, which
Wow.
has Isle of Man on the B-side.
On the B-side, wow.
So, and I still have it. I will never ever part with it. It's
No,
dear to me.
no,
And Jeff, we love you.
Love you, Jeff.
Yeah. But we do need to go back through and edit this and delete out all the nice stuff about Glenn, because it's gonna get to his head, and we
I know. But, God, that guy, I tell him, I don't know how I can love him anymore and hate him at the same time, because, when we open the club, Glenn's like, I'll just DJ. And I'm like, well, we have never, club DJ. He goes, how hard could it be?
Yeah.
Well, that's Glenn's theory on everything. Well, how hard could that be? I'll just paint. How hard could that be? When he said he was going to get in a band, I said, Glenn and I have the best imaginary bands ever.
Right.
Right? We were the Corner Gonzaleses. He was Cabbage Gomez Jr. and I was Avocado Al Gomez. We have these great made up bands. The only problem is, for me, it's a fantasy, and for him, he's just like, I'll just do it. I'll just pick up guitar. I'm like, you don't play guitar. How hard could it be?
Yeah.
I'll play piano. How hard could that be? Do you remember? Well, you didn't come to our club very much. He had that song about Denny's,
No.
being at Denny's. I wish we had that somewhere and you could play that. It went on our top request list.
Maybe it can be a hidden track on the new Ultrastar album.
I'm telling you, if I don't know if he has it, I wish I had it, but I obviously don't. But if he has it, I'll check with him and send it to you. He did it on a little toy keyboard, plugged it in, ran it through everything, and made this song. And he would play it at the end of every night about going to Denny's and eating at Denny's.
It was the exit song.
Absolutely.
There you go. Get out.
Absolutely. And then people are like, I want to hear that song. Who is it? It's Glenn. But that's him. I'll start, he started One Rabbit was his band, the first band.
Yeah.
And then he started, Ultrastar after that, and with Chad and everything. Yeah, but he's amazing.
Yeah, Chad's such a great guitar player.
Yeah.
Great people. I remember the first Ultrastar album had Liz Sackett singing Snaptrack.
And she was here for the Front 242 show.
Yes.
Flew down from New York. She and
Yeah.
Mickey flew down from New York, and I literally ran into Mickey.
Yeah.
Bumped into him, and we're like, ah! And I was like, "Where's your sister? How's your sister?" And he goes, "Well, let's go ask her. She's right over here." So we got to hang out with Liz for a while and everything, and she's acting and and actually
such a wonderful voice as well.
Amazing.
Again,
another one with just this natural talent.
Yeah.
I can do that. I only pretend to do it. These
I've
other
never
people.
even pretended.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Do you remember Jonathan and Jonathan Moore?
Yep.
And Paul Louth?
Yep.
They started that band Vociferous Mutes.
Vociferous Mutes.
That was my
Yep.
name. I was like, they're like, we need a name for a band. I was like, oh, Glenn and I have this one band called Vociferous Mutes, and they were like, we're stealing it. And I was like, welcome to it, because it's never going to happen for me.
Right.
They were like, no way. Yep. Anyway.
And then Paul went on to do Monkey Paul after
Monkey
that.
Paul. Yeah.
Paul. Yeah, Paul's a good dude.
I work with his partner.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, it's a super small world. She comes up to me and she's like, do you know a guy that used to come to your club named Paul Louth? And I was like, yeah. She's like, well, that's my boyfriend. And I was like, get out. And I'd just seen him here like a year or two before at our reunion one of the reunions, which
Right.
I can't thank, Respectable Street Rodney enough for, hosting those, allowing us to, have them here.
I think
It's a natural thing to have them here.
I think we're trying to set
July.
another one up in July.
Yeah, yeah.
I need to talk to Alex, the manager here,
Yeah.
and try getting that date set up.
Yeah,
and,
Will Evans wants to bring his band.
Oh God, that
Great.
can get loud.
That'll be all right. We got to support our folks.
Absolutely. Will's another great guy. I love Will.
Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely.
It's I guess it's another thing. It's just within the punk scene, there's so many great people, and I can't believe I'm so friends with so many of these people so many years later.
Well, I'll tell you right now, my kids are tired of running into people that came to our club that will say, your parents are the reason we're married. We got engaged on the doorstep. I don't know. I've met 3 or 4 people that got engaged on that Echoes doorstep.
That's amazing.
And you know what I mean? And that's, you want to talk about humbling, and Zyle.
Yeah.
So we still see Zyle every now and then. And he goes,
I know who he is. He's a few years older than I was.
Yeah.
I was never cool enough to have a conversation with him.
He was a force. Yeah, he's amazing. And he said, I have one question for you that I've wanted to ask you for years and years and years. And I was like, oh God, I'm like, well, how deep is this going to be? And he goes, did you know what you were doing when you did it? He goes, did you know how much this meant to us? And I said, no. I said, because it meant as much to us as it did to everyone else. I was like, all I knew was we wanted to open up a club. That was our whole premise. Is
Right.
it was 3 families of teachers. We're going to open up a club, and we're going to keep it 21 and under, because we don't want a bunch of drunks.
Right.
I mean, one of our partners had owned a bar, and she'd owned a couple bars, and she's like, it's nonsense. She goes, let's do it 21 and under. We'll do it Friday and Saturday nights. It won't be, we won't quit our day job. She did, but we're just going to do this, and like we're going to do like top 40 earlier, and get the younger kids in, and then we'll switch over. Well, the first night, here in walks Dana. I don't, Dana,
Right.
Dana Purdy, and now she's married and everything to Sammy. Hi, Dana. Hi, Sam. And they're amazing, and she comes walking in with her entourage, and and they're putting in, we did requests, remember?
Yeah.
And so they're putting in requests for, like just great music that we have. We have just bins of music. You ever see our DJ booth there?
Yeah.
It was just, there was bin after bin after bin after bin. We built them all, and, we had them categorized and everything, and it was just crazy stuff. And after that first night, we're like, yeah, we're going this way the whole way. We're just going alternative the whole way.
I remember, just having my mind blown, because I mean, again, I moved up here from the Keys.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, so I mean, I went from a school of 1,500 to my freshman class being 1,500.
Yeah.
And like, just the culture shock, and then, coming to hardcore, I saw all in chemical people there. I think it was. I don't think it was Echoes at that point.
No.
What was in there right after you guys?
I don't know what they changed it to like Rumors or something.
That's
I don't
it.
know. Yeah.
Yeah.
We told the owners, we're like, look, you've got a winning formula here. You've got Glenn, and then they brought in another DJ because they're like, oh, we want to do more, popular music. And I was like, yeah, but that brings in a different crowd.
Right.
And I was like, those crowds
That's
don't.
when the fight started.
And those crowds don't mix very well.
Right.
I said, don't do that, and they didn't listen at all.
That was.
They didn't listen.
What I considered to me the downfall of our scene.
Yeah.
Which is also, I mean, I try to be a bit more mature about it now, but
Yeah.
back then, I found like 9 Inch Nails and Pearl Jam and Soundgarden, all those bands to be like the dagger that killed the scene.
Yeah.
While the scene exploded, and
Yeah.
now the clubs can actually
Yeah.
make some real money.
Yeah.
But the problem was, the element that it brought in. Now it's like, okay, great. Oh, How Soon Is Now is playing on the floor. Great. Now we've got all the football players coming in here and throwing elbows to the
Yeah.
Smiths, and hitting girls in the face,
Yeah.
because they want to mosh, and it's
Yeah.
dude, it's a Smiths,
Yeah.
and it's
Oh, I run into people now that, are in their 50s, and they're like, "Oh, I never went to your club because, it was a punk club, and I wasn't into that kind of music." And my thing is, well, thank you.
thank you, yeah,
We weren't trying to get the whole pie.
right.
We were enjoying just our little slice of it.
So, were you guys able to recoup the investment from there?
We
Or?
basically broke even.
Yeah, that's a win.
That's a win.
That's a,
That's a win after 2 years. And the only reason we sold is, Beth and I got married.
Right.
We'd been together since we were 16 years old.
oh wow.
So we'd done a lot of stuff, and like I said, we'd gone to England, we'd done all that kind of stuff, opened a club, and then it was like,
Yeah.
okay, I think we're ready to settle down and get
Yeah, so
married.
you guys are 7-8 years together before you opened the club.
Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. And she loves all the same music too. Actually, she's more of the dance side of it.
Right.
I'll go a little more of the hardcore side, and she'll rein me back in and say, you know your crowd. She knew the crowd
Right.
really well, so it was a big help. But just had an idea, decided to do it. Then once we got in, we were in so deep we couldn't back out.
Right.
And all the, we had Walt Jabsco, the Specials, logo
Right.
on the stairway up. I was like, it's got to have a ska element. If it's no ska, then I'm not doing it.
Wait,
But everything
you mean this thing? You mean
it's
that?
got Walt Jabsco.
Yeah,
There you go.
there you go.
Yeah. So Glenn painted the whole hallway.
Right.
So he did everything. And then we were like, okay, and we had Bob Goebel, who was our kind of our contractor. We had Dave Taylor, who's Sue's husband, who was our muscle. So we could build anything, carry anything, and all that. So we worked on it. Probably Glenn also for about 6-7 months before we opened, every night. So we would teach till 3:00, and then go over there and work till about 10 or 11 o'clock every night. Did that for about 6 or 7 months.
That sounds like a ton of pizza.
It was a DIY, you look back and you say, oh, people did their band in their garage. Well, yeah, we just had a slightly bigger garage.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, that's amazing.
Oh, Glenn and I, our favorite thing to do was to get all new music. We'd go find our new music and stuff, and go up there like on a Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday night, take a couple chairs, sit out on the middle of the dance floor, crank it up, crack open some beers, and sit there and just, like, okay, we like that. All right, we like that. Let's do that. Let's add this in and stuff. So,
that's amazing.
He was the true DJ. I can DJ, but he is a DJ.
Right.
Yeah.
He's.
Yeah.
Looking back at it, I said I was a DJ when I was DJing, and looking back at it, I like to say I wasn't a DJ. I think I was more of a curator than a DJ because listen, I couldn't mix my way out of a wet paper bag.
Not like some of these guys.
I could, it was, it was boots in the dryer and clearing dance floors. But I think I was always ahead of the curve. I was always introducing music way before anybody else had it for the most part.
Yep.
And
good for you for doing that,
Right.
But you got to play the classics.
Yeah, but it's funny, like Jeff took over DJing after I left Foundation. Him and Derek Warren.
Yeah, Derek.
And and then another guy named Floyd Kelly.
Yeah, I don't know him.
But like I started playing the Prodigy, like mixing the Prodigy in with like 242 and Nitzareb because to me it's like I didn't hear a difference because that first Prodigy stuff was more like techno house than it was industrial, and I think their later stuff became more on the industrial side. But people, when I started playing Prodigy, people literally were taking flyers, balling them up, and throwing them in the DJ booth.
Yeah.
Like.
Yeah.
And then 2 years later, the floors.
Right.
Right. But and I have a feeling Echoes was the same way.
We did. It was
as well. Except for I think the people there were much more accepting of stuff they didn't know.
They trusted Glenn.
Right.
They trusted Glenn.
And it was also a different time. It was earlier in the scene.
Yeah.
Before.
But they ate it up.
Yeah.
They ate it up.
But my point being is, it's earlier in the scene where I think people are a bit more open-minded.
And stuff was coming out like this.
Yeah,
I mean,
and by the time you hit 91,
yeah.
I mean, I think, egos came in and say, oh, I'm old school. It's like, yeah, and none of us are old. We've been in the scene 5 years. We're old school.
Yeah.
In the meantime, post-punk has already moved on out of post-punk into the 30 other genres after.
Absolutely.
But we were cool.
Yeah, it was a magical time.
Yeah.
It was and I'm just humbled that here we are sitting here. We sold in '88. Here we are. 2022, and we're still talking about this.
It's awesome.
I mean, 34 years later, and we're still talking about it, and people are still saying, "Oh, I love Echoes." Like, how, the Echoes Facebook page. I just went to it today just to, kind of refresh my memory about,
right.
Faces and names and stuff like that, and it's amazing.
I want to do one thing because we're running out of time here, and you brought some swag that I wanted to get on camera and jog some memories for some of the old timers. We've
gotta have the original shirt. Who, believe it or not, who do you think designed this? And it was not me.
Oh, I'm gonna just go ahead and say Glenn.
Glenn's dad.
Glenn's dad. Here, hold on. Can we turn that a little bit?
Yep.
That's awesome. What else we got?
We had this was Sue's influence. We had a Valentine's Day party, so we did like a really nice sweet one.
Oh, that's cool.
That's not my influence at all, right there. This was mine.
But it is so 80s appropriate, isn't it?
It is. It had the right colors. It was very go-go-ish, and this was mine. The nice Echoes. Kind of,
the chaos script.
Yeah, the chaos script. Yeah, and my wage against hair bands.
No Jovi heads.
No Jovi heads. So we made up shirts and we had stickers, and people were putting them on the back of their cars and stuff, and it was meant to be fun. I mean, it was there were camps. Remember, back then you definitely had your camp.
Absolutely. Well, Rick, I thank you so much for spending the time with me today. It's
no problem.
It's been a pleasure, and I've been wanting to get the Ministry story because there's a Reddit thread on the Ministry story.
Is there really?
There is a Reddit thread. If you do a Google search for Ministry Lake Worth High School, you will get a Reddit response on there.
Yeah.
So hopefully somebody will take this and.
Yeah, it was kind of guerrilla warfare,
Yeah.
It was like, can we pull this off? What would have been the worst that could have happened? They said no.
Right.
All right.
That's awesome.
But they didn't, and now it's in the books.
That's awesome. Thank you again so much.
Thank you, and thank you for all you do, because I mean, you're still part of the scene. You're at all the shows. I see you everywhere. And that speaks volumes.
Oh, thank you so much. It's nice to hear. Thank you.
Yeah, we're the old ones, except for Beth. Apparently, I have to drag her out of pit still. I have to go get her, and drag her out. And the minute they play something great here, she's in the middle of the dance floor. We're 61 years old, and I'm still dragging her out of the middle of pits and stuff like that. She doesn't care. She's having a blast. They take great care of her. I don't worry about anyone. Like,
no, I mean, listen.
They love her.
I will make you this deal. You guys keep showing up, and
we'll be
and what's it called? Beth's gonna get at least one hug every time she's here. That's amazing. So
we just talked about going to a show, and she's like, "Can we get up front?" I'm like, "We can always go up front. Yeah, we can go up front. Yeah, no problem." Yeah, so we're the old people, like going through the crowd still.
You know what? I mean, it's there's plenty of us still.
There are
still on the green side of the grass.
Absolutely, every day.
Well, hopefully we'll see you at another concert again very soon.
I'll be here. Absolutely.
And I thank you again for being here.
Thank you for inviting me.
You're welcome.